we are. Not bad looking, if I do say so myself.
I'm afraid you'll be the only one, sir. With all due respect.
Jealousy, Ames, jealousy. Beware the green-eyed monster. You have many other attributes, if not manly beauty. Be satisfied with them.
From the amount of care you're taking with your appearance, you must be going out with someone no less than a duchess.
As a matter of fact, that's exactly who it is. Just hold that for me like a good fellow, would you?
Well, the Duchess of where? And what does she want with you?
Ah, one of the finest women I know. And what she wants from me, my dear fellow, is what most beautiful women want from me.
Oh, I see. Just advice.
There's a most crushing retort to that rather unkind remark, if I could happen to think of it. Do you remember Johnny Blake?
I do indeed. He's one of our star criminals before the war. He worked China, India, and the Middle East. Did rather well for himself, as I remember. At least he never got caught. Height 5'9", weight 160 pounds, dark hair, going a little thin on top. Oh, yes, and a little scar behind his left ear.
Enough, my dear man. I always forget your amazing power of memory.
He's dead now, isn't he?
Yes. Killed 10 years ago in a plane crash near Calcutta.
Well, what's Blake got to do with the Duchess?
He left her a legacy, which is to receive today.
10 years after he died?
Ah, that's the whole point. Blake wasn't a mere crook. He was a bit of a poet.
And where do you come in on this?
I'm to be there as a witness. I saw a good deal of Blake when he was in England before. As a matter of fact, I used to drink with him, the same pub. Shocking of me, I know, but after all, there were no charges against him in England then.
And do you think it was a good thing for the head of D3 to be seen drinking with a common criminal?
Not common, Ames. Uncommon. Make no mistake about that. Most uncommon. The Duchess. Come in, my dear. Allow me to present Inspector Ames. He works here, too. Ames, this is Miss Rosalina Holland.
Hello. You can call me Duchess. Everybody does.
How do you do, Miss Duchess?
Are we all ready?
Oh, I'm so excited. I could hardly sleep last night. I wonder what he's left me. Do you think it's some money? Oh, that's one thing I could really use, money.
We'll soon find out. Shall we go?
Mm-hmm. Ta. Oh, Inspector. Ever so ta.
You see, if you were good-looking, they'd ask your advice, too. What? Oh, yes, thanks.
You must be human after all. And on December the 30th, 10 years after my death, that said package shall be turned over, seals unbroken, to Miss Rosalinda Holland, employed as of the date of this writing as barmaid. The London public house called the White Unicorn.
And still employed.
And that as witness to this shall be summoned, if still alive, Colonel March, head of the Department of Scotland Yard known as D3.
And I may add, still alive.
In the hope that Colonel March, being a man so gifted in the solution of puzzles and riddles, will see that Miss Holland receives the gift which, because of the many kindnesses she has bestowed upon me, I leave to her in grateful appreciation. Signed, John Blake.
Now, isn't that nice of him? And, you know, the only thing I ever did was just to talk to him when he was out of sorts.
In other words, you were kind.
Yes, I suppose so. Can I open it now?
Don't see why not. All the conditions are fulfilled.
Do you mind if I examine the seals first? Not that it makes any difference. It could have been sealed up again easily enough.
That box has been sitting in the vaults of Indemnified Security Limited since that morning 10 years ago when I placed it there in the presence of John Blake until this morning when I got it out again in the presence of a bank official. It has never even been touched, much less tampered with.
I never said it was. You knew John Blake quite well, didn't you?
In a professional sense only.
That's exactly what I mean.
Just imagine, in a few minutes I could be rich. Why, it's a box.
Be careful it's not Pandora's.
Don't be silly, he never mentioned her, it's mine. Oh, he was such a nice man to think of me. I'm almost sorry he's gone now. Do you think it's a necklace?
Why don't you open it and see?
No, Duchess. It's quite empty, I'm afraid. No hidden compartments, no messages, nothing.
But why should anybody want to leave the girl an empty box? Is it valuable in itself?
Worth perhaps £1. It's made in India for the export trade. That's why it plays English tunes.
But Mr. Blake wouldn't have played a trick like that. He wouldn't.
Maybe there was something in it that was taken out.
That's worth investigating. I'd like to keep this for a day or two, if I might, Duchess. I'd like to examine it more closely.
If you like.
At least he did think of you.
For all the good it did the poor girl.
Well, it's better than not being remembered at all.
Thanks, Colonel. He was a nice man, Mr. Blake was. He was always telling stories about where he'd been. You remember, don't you, Tom?
You women beat me. I never believed a word of them.
Well, I did. I believed them all. He'd sit for hours before closing time, and he'd talk about Rangoon and the Taj Mahal and the Great Wall of China, and you could see them right there in front of you. He said he'd take me out there with him one day. Of course, it was just his little joke, but I didn't mind. Mr. Blake wasn't the fresh type, you know. He was a proper gentleman. Why, he wouldn't touch a girl's hand without she gave him permission.
Well, I never trusted him. Never for a minute.
You know, I think he knew he was going to die that day he left. There was something about him when he said goodbye. Like he was running away, but it was no use. That was before you bought this place. He died in that terrible plane crash.
Yes, I remember reading about it in the papers. Of course, the names meant nothing to me at the time.
He was a nice man. Maybe the Colonel is right. That all he wanted to leave me was just a keepsake to remember him by. Perhaps it was wicked of me, thinking that I was going to be rich for doing nothing at all. You know, like some of these girls in the pictures.
No, no. Why don't you take the afternoon off, Rosie, eh?
No, I think I'll work. It'll take my mind off it. But it's a very nice thought. Thank you all the same, Mr. Lawton.
Well, if you ask me, it was a dirty trick. That's what it was. A filthy, dirty trick.
Well, nobody was asking you, Tom Mullins, so drink up your drink and go home before your wife comes in here looking for you.
Oh, it's you again.
I've got that information you wanted. He was quite one of the boys, was your friend, Mr. Blake.
Anything in particular?
All worthwhile. A bank robbery in Hong Kong, some jewels from the governor's wife in Sumatra, and a neat little bit of confidence work in Cairo. He usually planned one of those jobs every year, realized on some of the small stuff, and then spent the rest of his time in England drinking with his friends.
Anything else on him?
The Maharaja's token.
Blake got away with that.
Well, that's what the police at New Delhi think. He lifted it himself from the Maharaja just after they'd weighed the old man and given him the equivalent in precious stones. Only this time it was just one stone, an emerald as big as your hat. Oh, well, maybe a bit smaller, but worth a packet.
The Maharaja's token. I'd no idea he was so talented.
You'll notice that he didn't try to pull anything like that in England, for all his talent.
Oh, my dear fellow, he knew that we are here. Now, tell me, on these jobs, did he work alone?
Usually, but once in a while, with a partner if there was any dirty work to be done.
Did any of the stuff he stole ever turn up later?
Oh, some of the small stuff, but anything big, never. It must still have been hidden away when he died.
And yet, to someone who was kind to him, he left an empty box worth perhaps £1.
There was nothing in the record about him being Santa Claus, or even Robin Hood.
Ah, but the Duchess always spoke well of him, and I take her word about people. Come on, come on.
Oh. Perhaps there was something in that box. I've been checking up on that Solicitor Harwood, and his reputation is none too good.
Oh, no, he'd be a fool to try anything like that with the evidence that points alone to him.
Even with the reward so big?
Well, now who can that be at this hour?
Perhaps another of your drinking friends.
Colonel Mart speaking.
This is Harwood, Blake's solicitor.
Harwood.
We must have heard us talking about him. Sharp ears.
How often have I told you not to raise your voice? Yes, Mr. Harwood, what can I do for you?
March, come to my office at once. Come quickly. There's no time.
Harwood. Harwood. Colonel March, D3, have a car and driver at the door at once. An empty box.
Thank you for coming, gentlemen. I was afraid you might be too late. Sorry, I can't get up.
Are you all right, Howard?
Oh, your concern's touching, Colonel, but let's get to the point. I have a confession to make. I opened the box.
I know, but when?
This morning, I was overcome by greed. It's a weakness of mine. In this case, a fatal weakness. I'm telling you this only because I'm conceited enough to want to get my own back.
For what?
For this. Oh, don't touch me.
Call an ambulance, Ames.
Too late, Colonel. I told you it was a fatal weakness.
Who did it?
A total stranger. He wanted what was in the box.
And that was?
That's what I wanted to tell you. When I opened the box this morning, I found
Yes?
another puzzle for the man so gifted in the solution of puzzles.
What was in the box?
Nothing. It was empty.
The homicide squad is working, of course, but what have they got to go on? No one saw anyone go in or come out.
And the knife?
Oh, we've traced that. It comes from Indochina. But they've imported millions of them. They use them as paper knives. That one may have been Howard's own, for all we know. There were no valid fingerprints.
In other words, you haven't traced it.
I think the murderer came here to get from Harwood what Harwood thought was in that box.
But there was nothing in the box.
Well, who said so? We've only got Harwood's word for it.
And I believe him. But the murderer didn't. And that's why Harwood is dead. I believe that Blake left the Duchess an empty box.
So he was playing a trick on us and is now laughing like a drain from the other side of the grave.
He played a trick, all right, but not on us. And stop walking up and down, Ames. You'll give yourself a headache.
To match the one that this case has given you. Are you blaming me for your lack of progress? All right, a trick on the Duchess, then.
No, on the murderer. Blake knew that someone would kill to get the secret of that box. So we made a puzzle of his legacy, for the girl's protection, of course, and had me there to solve it for her.
And why don't you?
Well, my principal interest, of course, is to catch the murderer. But to do that, we must first solve Blake's puzzle. Then the criminal will reveal himself, and you can have the pleasure of arresting him.
I shall.
I keep thinking about that date.
What date?
The 30th of December.
Hmm?
The date she got the legacy. It's not her birthday. It's not Christmas. Why that particular day of all days?
Well, there have been some anniversary for them.
What anniversary?
Wait a minute. Wasn't it on the 30th of December that they hanged Sam Martin? That patient who poisoned the doctor chap?
My dear Ames, as usual, you measure history in terms of the exploits of the criminal classes. Not everybody does that, you know. Wait a minute. I have an idea. I have a friend at the library, may be able to help us. Name's Dexter. Got a mind like an encyclopedia. Mr. Dexter, please.
Dexter speaking.
Colonel March speaking. Does December the 30th mean anything to you?
Yes, 5 days after Christmas.
5 days after Christmas, yes. Anything else?
Death of the Earl of Stratford, 1628.
Death of the Earl of Stratford, 1628. Anything else?
Yes, quite a lot. I'll make a list and send it to you if you like.
Well, thank you very much, if you would.
Who was the Earl of Stratford?
Oh, Dexter wouldn't know that. He just learns the dates.
Do you know?
Certainly. I know a great deal about the Earl of Stratford. Of course, it might take me a little time to separate the wheat from the chaff, but,
I thought this made music.
it does.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love sent to me a partridge in a pear tree. On the
My
second
dear
day...
Ames, if you're thinking of leaving the police force for the stage, don't.
The 12 days of Christmas. Well, well. You can't turn on the radio these days without hearing it. On the second day of Christmas, my true love sent to me 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree. On the
Wait,
third...
the 5th day of Christmas. December the 30th, of course.
What? On the 5th
Wait a
day
minute. The 3rd day of Christmas, my true love sent to me 3 fat hens.
3 French hens.
3 French hens. Now, the 4th day. What was the 4th day?
Geese a laying.
No. That's the 8th day.
No. The 8th day is
Wait
8
a minute.
maids a milking.
4 calling birds.
4 collie birds.
4 calling birds. A collie is a dog.
In this case, the collie is a bird.
Have it your own way.
Well, have it the right way.
Now, wait a minute. The 5th day of Christmas, my true love sent to me...
Pipers piping.
No.
Swans are swimming.
No.
Lords are leaping.
No.
Are you sure it's not swans are swimming?
No. Wait a minute, I've got it. 5 golden rings.
Hello?
Is that you, Duchess?
Yes, Colonel. What is it?
I hope you don't mind my asking you this, but, did Blake ever give you any jewelry?
Why, yes. A sort of ring. I wear it all the time.
Thank you very much. We'll be right over. Stay there till we come, please. Now, we're getting somewhere. Collie, birds, a leap, a loop. Who ever heard of such a thing? Oh, hello, Lawton.
Hello.
I wonder if we could borrow the Duchess for a few minutes. I'd like to have a word with her.
Certainly, as long as you like, Colonel. Have you found out anything?
Well, not for certain. Is there somewhere we can talk?
Well, why don't you sit over there?
Thank you, yes.
Rosie.
Yes? Oh, hello, Colonel.
Hello, Duchess.
This phone call of yours has got me all nervy. What's up?
I'd like to see the ring that Blake gave you.
Oh, yes. Well, as I said before, it's really 5 rings.
5. 5 golden rings.
Only they're all together, so there's really only one. A gentleman came in here the other night and said it was real gold, and that I should go and have it, I forget the word.
Appraised?
That's right. But I didn't think that, well, I should. It's like going behind his back, if you know what I mean.
Indeed, I do. On the back there, do you think you can read it?
I don't think there's any inscription. I've already looked.
Oh, the jeweler's mark.
Can you get the jeweler's name from that?
Yes, if I can get it down.
Do you think there's really something in this? I mean, the box?
Well, we're going to try to find out, Duchess.
I've got it.
Good.
Do you mind if I use this phone for a moment?
Yes.
Slip that right back on your finger.
So you think there is more than just the empty box?
Yes, I think perhaps there is.
Then he wasn't playing a trick on me.
No, not on you.
Roger.
Well, I'm glad.
James here.
Now I don't care if it's not worth anything at all.
H.
Rosie, you want it?
32.
Coming. Do you want me any more?
Not just now.
So you see, he was thinking of me.
Poland Street. Thanks. Goodbye.
Sit down, Duchess. You take the chair.
No, Colonel, you take the chair.
Indeed, I will, then.
Yes, sir. Can I help you?
Does this box mean anything to you?
What tune does it play? Been waiting a long time. Miss Holland?
That's me.
Have you any means of identification? You understand it's
Oh,
merely
well,
a...
I had a bill through the post this morning, and I've got an old ration book.
Then this is yours.
Well, I don't think you have to be afraid to open this one, Duchess.
Oh.
Oh, I say.
You didn't know what was in the box?
Not for 10 years, I didn't. That's when the gentleman brought it in to me. He said when a lady named Miss Holland came in with a box like that, I was to give it to her, but I didn't realize it was worth a fortune.
Is it real?
Just let me see. Yes, I'm sure it is. That must be worth... I wouldn't even like to guess how much.
And it's mine?
As far as I'm concerned, you know, I must say I'm rather glad I didn't know what I had in my safe all those years. Responsibility might have been too great for me.
guess Mr. Lawton's gone home. Would you like a cup of tea? Won't take me a minute.
No, thank you very much, Duchess. I must be getting home myself. You live here, don't you?
Yes, upstairs at the back. Now, are you sure about that tea?
Positive, thank you. And I'll see you at my office in the morning. And, oh, by the way, I think I'd better keep this under lock and key for you until then.
Oh, I did so want to look at it tonight. Oh, please, Colonel, I've never had anything so beautiful. Can I keep it? Please.
Well, all right. But be sure to lock that door after I've gone.
Don't worry about me. I can take care of myself.
Good night, Duchess.
Good night, Colonel.
Good evening, Duchess. I see you've got your inheritance after all.
Yes. Do you know what it is?
Of course I do. It belongs to me. May I have it, please?
No, it's mine. Mr. Blake left it to me.
But he had no right to leave it to anyone. Half of that belonged to me when we stole it from the Maharaja. The other half became mine when Mr. Blake died. I tracked him all over the world to catch that stone. It took me 3 years to locate him, and then he'd vanished. The stone wasn't on him when the plane crashed, so I knew it was here, where he kept his stuff. That's why I had to buy the pub whilst I searched. That stone was worth waiting 10 years for, wasn't it, Duchess? Do you know, I'd almost given up hope when that lawyer fellow came around about what had been left for you.
Oh, you killed him. And now you're going to kill me.
There's no need to kill you. Not if you give me the box. All you have to do is to give me the box.
Then you leave me alone?
I shall have to tie you up, of course. But that is better than dying, isn't it? I always said you were a smart girl, Duchess.
Quickly, get the door!
Got him. All right, take him away.
Well, it's the Maharaja's token, all right, or so it would seem to be.
You mean it's really mine?
Well, that's a hard question to answer, but at least you have possession of it. And that's supposed to be 9 points of the law.
Yes, but what about the 10th point?
Ah, that's a matter of conscience. In your case, much more difficult, because there's no one to dispute your right to it.
I once read in a book that each year the people gave something they liked or needed to make up as a present for that prince that you spoke of. And if they didn't give it, then something was taken away from them as a sort of penance. Was this how this jewel was got?
I'm afraid it was.
Then I don't want it.
You don't want it?
Oh, I know it's very beautiful and that it cost a lot. But it's really a terrible thing. Mr. Blake died running away from it. And that solicitor man, he was killed for it. And now Mr. Lawton will hang because of it. And what with all those hardship that those poor people suffered to buy it. No, I don't want it.
But what would we do with it, Duchess?
Give it back to them. It's theirs anyway. That's right. Give it back to them.
To their descendants, you mean? All right, Rosie. Back it goes. And I think you've taken the curse off the stone.
Tell them it's with the compliments of the Duchess. Goodbye, Colonel. Ta-da.
Did I say one of the finest women I've ever known? I must correct myself. The very finest.
Thank you.